cool experiences to share, or if you've got some questions for other people, because I know we've got people from all different types of cards here. Just kick things off, Matthew, if you wouldn't mind, dude. I know you've got a ton of experience with BigCommerce and with AmeriCommerce. Obviously, those are two big platforms. I know AmeriCommerce has been getting a lot of people have been talking about that a lot. Would you mind kicking us off and just kind of giving the quick and dirty on like your high-level experience with both of those and thoughts on the platforms?
Sure. I mean, I've been on BigCommerce for probably close to 5 years now. I was with them when they kind of first got started. To be honest, it's been a really good cart. I really don't have any plans on changing from it. But recently, I had a large site that had about 50,000 SKUs. And I tried doing that on BigCommerce, but there just happened to be an issue with how BigCommerce handles that amount of categories for all the products. It was basically, my new site's going to be for compatible parts for farm equipment. So I had a lot of categories, and unfortunately BigCommerce couldn't handle that. Like when you go in the back end and you try to manage a category, let's say you want to add a description or something for it, it honestly would freeze. I couldn't do anything. So what I ended up doing was, after the e-commerce fuel meetup, I ended up using AmeriCommerce, and honestly I've been blown away by all the different features that they have. Especially if you're big on like bulk uploading, their CSV tools are just absolutely incredible. It's really amazing all the things you can do in Excel and then bulk upload with their platform. They just really make it so easy. But also I have to say, I mean, in my opinion, BigCommerce's support has gotten pretty bad since I first started. Initially, if I'd have like a ticket or something, it'd get answered within like an hour or two. Now I'm looking at like 1 to 2 days, and half the time I just get like a generic response back, which I don't know, kind of ticks you off after you've been waiting. But for as far as support with AmeriCommerce, honestly, they've been getting back to me right away, where you can actually just pick up the phone and call them, and they will answer and help you right then and there. So if anybody has any questions on AmeriCommerce or BigCommerce, feel free to ask, I guess, after everybody talks.
Now, neither of those are hosted solutions, right?
Well, I guess they're all cloud-based, or they host it for you, and you're just using their software.
So like Shopify, then?
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay.
I will say, though, I forgot to add this. The only downside to AmeriCommerce is they don't provide any like email accounts or anything. Like, you're responsible to set up your own email server. So that was something that, I mean, they'll walk you through it, how to set it up, but that's something a little different that I think from Shopify and BigCommerce. So it took a little bit to get going, but once you have it set up, then it's no issue at all.
One thing I totally forgot to do, I should have at the top, guys. A bunch of us met in Austin, but for those of us that didn't, can we do just like a super fast, hey, here's my name, here's where I live, and here's the website I run or who I work for, just in case people don't know you. Aaron, would you mind kicking up, just kind of going first, man?
Sure. Aaron Rubin, based out of New York, have a bunch of martial arts related e-commerce sites. I've been running them since like 1998. $6 million a year in revenue, maybe 7 this year. And then I also have a company, ShipHero, which is e-commerce shipping software using iPods and iPads. And then just on the BigCommerce, Shopify, platform stuff, we have most of our stuff runs on our own built platform, but we have 3 stores on Shopify and 1 on BigCommerce just because they got added on later. And then with ShipHero, we've integrated with those guys, a bunch of others. So I was curious to get everyone's kind of thoughts on the various platforms, what they're using, why they're using it. And I have a meeting at Shopify next month and at BigCommerce next month, so I was also kind of educating myself.
Nice, cool. Are you going down there to talk with them about ShipHero integrations, or what are you going to talk to them about?
Yeah, we have integrations for ShipHero for both Shopify and BigCommerce, so we're going out to train their professional services teams on kind of what ShipHero can do. so that when they speak to their customers, they can kind of explain if we're the right solution or not for them.
That's cool. Good luck.
Thanks.
Should we just maybe we can just go right? I don't know if you guys is Aaron all the way to the left on all your guys' screens?
And I'm the last one.
Last is best.
Awesome. Well, maybe we can just kind of go from left to right. So Brandon, Laura, and Josh, and just right down the line.
I think we're in different orders then, because I see myself at the very end.
Oh, really?
But I'll go next. That's cool.
Cool.
I'm Brandon Neely. I own 2bigfeet.com. It's an online retailer of large size shoes for guys. And we've been doing it for 15 years now, I think. And we're currently on ShopSite platform, but we're currently moving over to BigCommerce. We're looking at launching in first quarter of 2015, but everybody keeps saying how great AmeriCommerce is. So now I'm kind of going, did I choose the right system? But I think we're still going to go with BigCommerce. We're already on beta, so.
Cool. Thanks, Brandon. And then just whoever, since our orders mixed up, just whoever wants to hop in, just pick a slot and just hop in and introduce yourself and your cart.
Okay.
Go ahead.
There we go.
Go down.
Hey, I'm Alan. My website is, I guess I'm just doing a brief introduction. I hopped in kind of in the middle, but my name's Alan. I run SpyGuySecurity.com. So surveillance equipment, hidden cameras, GPS trackers, things like that. And I've been in this industry for about 5 years, but spent most of that working for other people and just started my online store, my own online store earlier this year. And I'm on the Shopify platform, since I guess that's what we're talking about. But I'm on Shopify, but I was also on Yahoo for 3 years when I was working for other people.
Okay, I'll go next. My name's Mark. My site is alteregocomics.com. It's an online collectibles site. I've been running that since 2003, so 11 years. And I originally was on the Xcart platform for about 8 years and switched over to Yahoo in the fall of 2012. And I'm currently looking to get away from Yahoo as fast as humanly possible. And I keep bouncing back and forth between Shopify and BigCommerce, but now I'm going to have to look at AmeriCommerce. But the biggest problem for me is the majority of my business is pre-orders, and none of the carts. BigCommerce has a pre-order component, but it seems like every cart wants to authorize for the full amount of the purchase at the time of the order, which is presenting me with a bunch of problems with people placing orders today for something that may not ship until fall of next year. And let's say they place a $500 order, and now they have a hold on their credit card for $500 for 5 days during the Christmas season, when they know that they're not going to really be charged for it until the fall of next year. So I'm open to suggestions and any assistance as far as anybody that may deal with pre-order products. I should also say I'm located in the Midwest. I'm here in Ohio.
All right. Well, I'll segue into me then, because I'm in Ohio as well, up towards Akron. Where are you located, Mark?
I'm in Lima. I'm about an hour south of Toledo.
Okay. Cool. And I have before I introduce myself, I'll just let you know that I've been looking at Magento, and one of my key functionalities that I need is to have installment plans where you can pay 25% down on like a custom order, and then the balance due once the custom fence order is done. So maybe something like that coupled with a pre-order function would work out for you, Mark. And then I'm Josh Manley. I run ironfenceshop.com. Been in the fencing industry for 13 years now. Branched out on my own with my own brand of fence, Iron Fence, about 6 years ago. Currently, we're 100% lead generation. You just come to the site. It's a catalog site. You contact a salesperson, and they kind of take it from there. We're in the process of redesigning the site now. We're going to use a shopping cart. We actually chose Magento, but it's actually going to be completely back end. So we're going to use Magento to catalog all of our products, create quotes for people, allow them to turn those into orders and check out on the back end. But the whole front end of the site is still going to be a pared down version of our current site where it's catalog only. So don't know if anybody's ever done anything like that before, but we chose to do that because we have a hard time completing the cookie cycle and being able to track our AdWords. So we'll be able to send people saved carts, and then they can complete the order cycle on their own without us having the confusion of a customer-facing site. So, all right, I'll quit talking.
Josh, not to push AmeriCommerce any more than I've already have, but they do have a pretty cool feature that'll work for you. You can actually create customer quotes in the back end and email them a link, and they can check it out and then pay for it on their own. So I don't know if that's something you're interested in or not.
Yeah, you should have called me about 3 months ago. Let me know that. We're pretty far down the path now. In fact, we're going to be rolling out the back end of the site January 1, and we ended up creating the functionality we wanted with a developer that is pretty much in-house for me, and then the use of a couple different plugins. But we're going to roll out a second website carrying some other suppliers probably around June, and that's going to be, it can be anywhere from 20,000 to 100,000 SKUs whenever it's all done. So I'll 100% keep that in mind for the next site.
Good deal.
Josh, how you liking Magento so far working with it?
I'll be honest, most of the work so far has just been done by my developer and then the one guy I have working for me, creating the products and the attributes and kind of our pricing list that in Excel that we're gonna map for an import. So I haven't really had much much time with it from using it myself. So I'm not really sure, but I'll tell you, nobody's mentioned Magento yet, so I'm kind of bummed out. I should have got something other than iced tea to drink today.
Here, I'll jump in real quick and introduce myself. I'm Travis Phipps, and I know most of you guys from the forum, obviously, and met almost everybody in Austin. And Josh, you and I got to chat on the phone a while back. But I run a PPC agency. We manage hundreds of thousands of dollars in monthly ad spend. A big focus on e-commerce. Most of you know that I owned a little niche e-commerce store called CherryLoop.com. Sold to Aaron, who's also in the forum. But we had worked with it, which I've never met anybody else on this platform, but it was Business Catalyst, which used to be a company called Goodberry, which was based in Australia, and they were pretty cool back in 2008, and then they got bought out by Adobe, and the platform was affordable, but it was really bad. There was a lot of things that were just not awesome, and every single year I looked at buying new and transitioning to a new cart, but I just could never justify the expense. We were running so tight on our profit margins that expending any kind of money to transition to a cart was not. We would have had to increase our conversions, double our conversions over a 5-year period of time to justify the expense. But all that being said, I have experience in a lot of different carts from my clients, and it's great to hear a lot of good stuff about AmeriCommerce. I've been writing some PPC articles for AmeriCommerce on their blog as of late, and I've actually just signed up for a sample account with AmeriCommerce. I have one with Shopify, and I have one with BigCommerce, just so that I stay on top of it from a PPC perspective on how all that stuff works as far as product listing ads for Google Shopping, for tracking revenue, for tracking keywords down to the call tracking, all of those things. The shopping carts play a big part when it comes into when you're talking about PPC, ROI, and return on ad spend. So that's it. So I'm here mostly to learn from everybody else's experiences, the pluses and minuses of these different carts. So, but I do have some feedback, and I'll jump in whenever it makes sense.
Laura, I think you're the last up.
Oh, I always assume everyone just knows who I am. So, I am the content and community manager here at E-commerce Fuel. I think I've met most of you in Austin, and I've at least emailed with all of you. And I don't have a cart, but I have been poking around Shopify a little bit, helping Andrew with the Right Channel Radio redesign a little. So, interested to hear what Andrew has to say about Shopify and his.
What did you, and I'll get to that in just a sec, what did you, when you were at LL Bean, did you guys have like a completely custom platform you guys used?
Yeah. Completely custom, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Has anyone else felt like, because we're moving from Magento to Shopify, and I feel like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, Magento was like just, everyone was drooling madly in love with Magento, and then like fast forward to today, and there's this exodus from Magento, at least for business owners in our size, to all these hosted carts. And Josh, I know this is probably not what you want to hear, given you're migrating to it, but is anyone else feeling that too, or is it just me? Or I feel like that, I don't know, maybe it's a huge mindset shift, but that's what I'm feeling and seeing.
I have a follow-up question to that too. So go ahead, Brandon.
I was in the beta test group that beta tested Magento before it was released, and back when the company that made it was called Varian, which was an e-commerce web design company. And I had chatted with Roy Rubin back and forth as they were planning it, and they would always ask small e-commerce merchants for our feedback, and that we had done surveys. And when it was released finally, I downloaded it. We've always run our own web servers, and I downloaded the community edition, and this is before Enterprise even existed. And it was so complicated, so resource intensive. Even when it first launched up until very recently, it's too much for your sub $5-10 million a year retailer to have to deal with. I don't have time personally, even though I knew I could actually get it up and running, technically speaking, but I don't want to spend all my time managing a server. And even if you self-host, you really shouldn't have to do that. So I think their problem was they couldn't make the cloud work. When they came out with Magento Go, I thought that was going to be what took them to compete with BigCommerce and Shopify and all of these other companies. And they weren't even in the space a couple of years and gave up. So I kind of see them as the OS commerce of 2020.
Well, and I guess I have a question, to that is, we chose, I have a developer that's on a 30-hour-a-week retainer that I've been working with for 5 or 6 years. It's super talented. So he chose that solution because he can, in his eyes, he can modify it and make it work the way that I want it to work. Is there as much flexibility in that area whenever you're using something like AmeriCommerce or some of these other hosted cart solutions?
Well, I can jump in on this one. So, I originally built a shopping cart in 1998, and obviously we're not using that one still, but we rebuilt another in-house one, and we have some Ship Hero customers that are on Magento, and some that are on BigCommerce, and some that are on Shopify. So we've had to get into the backends for all of those. You definitely need someone who's available, almost as a full-time job, to do Magento stuff. But you can do way more in Magento than you can ever do in those other platforms if you want to change stuff on site. So, and most of the big companies that I know are still on Magento. They're not migrating off. As cool as the cloud stuff is, it's great if you don't have the capabilities in-house. But you can do a lot of stuff. We do a lot of stuff on our sites that you could just never do on Shopify or BigCommerce, which is why, even though we have some sites on those platforms, those are for kind of our brand sites that are really simple. But for our wholesale site, for our flash sale site, those just don't work. So you're not making a mistake. It's just it's a choice, right? You're gonna have much higher programming costs and much more flexibility.
And that's kind of what was key for us was the flexibility, just because we're not using the cart in a traditional way, and we certainly aren't selling a product that's very traditional. So it was kind of scary for us to go to a hosted solution where we didn't have 100% of control.
Yeah, so I mean, it's the right choice. It's just like when you get in there, it is so complicated because it's so powerful. You can do lots of things, but it's really complicated to use, and the UI needs a lot of work. Like,
yeah,
they can definitely learn from some of the hosted solutions to make their product more usable. But if you want a powerful solution that you can kind of modify yourself, Magento is the go-to right now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, Josh, for me, it was just, I mean, we were on it for 3 years, and like Aaron hit it perfectly. If you need a bunch of custom functionality, yeah, you want to go hosted. But for us, like, a lot of our stuff is just education and recommending products, and a lot of the stuff that we needed was built into the hosted platform, like Shopify.
Sure.
And I spent like, oh my gosh. Seriously, when we migrated, I spent like 2 months getting up to speed on Unix stuff because I didn't know Unix and like server admin stuff, and then also on like figuring out how Magento works. It's funny you mentioned OS Commerce, Brandon, because like we launched Right Channel on Zencart like back in 2008, and it's a pretty ghetto platform. But one thing that was nice about it was like customizing the template was super easy. It had probably wasn't very powerful, but for my little tiny brain, it was easy to wrap my head around. You want to try to customize a layout in Magento? Oh my gosh, it's a nightmare. You've got to change like an XML file and some layout files, and it's just not intuitive. So for us, it was just we didn't need the functionality, and like Aaron said, you had to pay a programmer. We didn't want to bring somebody on, on a retainer, and so it just was an obvious switch for us. So.
Yeah, and I could see like if some of the future sites I want to roll out are like driveway gates and like gate openers and stuff where there's not really, those are going to be customer facing shopping carts, and they're pretty simple products compared to fencing. You just need a gate and a couple posts, and that's it. So I could definitely see making a different decision when we go to some products like that. That are much more traditional, I guess.
Anyone have any thoughts on what Mark said? Mark, you had maybe you could rephrase it just one more time, since it's been a couple minutes since you mentioned it. But anyone have any thoughts on Mark's issues for how to best be able to kind of capture payment but not have a pending charge on somebody's card for a while? You just Anyone thoughts on that? And Mark, maybe you could real quickly say if I'm summarizing that correctly.
Yeah, I'll just reiterate a little bit. We deal a lot with pre-orders. I know that there have been some other people posting on the big commerce forums that deal with collectibles, and the nature of the industry is that manufacturers will solicit orders for usually about a 30-day window, and then they go into production overseas or someplace, and we don't actually see the product until anywhere from 4 to 12 months later. So we need to get orders from our customers in a very small window of time so that we order accurately. So today, someone may place an order on the website for, let's say, $500 worth of product, but we're not going to actually charge them until October of next year when the product shows up. So the problem I'm running into is that most carts require authorizations in the full amount of the order, so that's going to put a hold on their card for 4 or 5 days during a busy shopping season, or if they use a debit card, it's going to overdraw their checking account in some cases. We've heard from customers where they're extremely angry because now they have an overdrawn checking account when they didn't think that they were actually going to have to need the money until several months down the road. We're using Yahoo now, and we have the option to turn off the authorization completely, and we're running cards manually. But in speaking with Shopify and digging through the big commerce forums, it looks like that might not be an option with either one of them. It's definitely not an option with Shopify, as far as I can tell. But I didn't know if anybody had any experience in dealing with shutting off the authorizations and running cards manually.
What amount are you wanting to run the authorization for?
I'm sorry?
What percentage of the sell are you wanting to run the authorization for, and how long do you want to hold that for?
Well, I don't need right now. We're not running an authorization for anything, but looking at several of the other carts, I need to authorize for at least a dollar or a penny so that I can go back and reference that transaction later. We use PayPal Pro as our merchant account provider. So PayPal says that we can go back and we can run a new charge up to 2 years down the road, but we have to at least authorize for something at the time of the order.
I could jump in with, there's Authorize.net has something called CIM, which is their Customer Information Manager, which allows you to add a profile, a payment profile, which you save, but you don't have to charge anything. And then you use that, you get back a token, and you can charge that token any amount at any point in the future. Obviously, if the person's card is canceled or expires, then it won't work after that time. But it doesn't require any authorization. Now, I don't know of any platform that supports that functionality out of the box, but the that's where I would start looking, see if anyone supports the Authorize.net CIM feature, and it's like $10 or $20 a month to turn it on. But you have to use Authorize.net.
Yeah, that's helpful. We actually left Authorize.net to go to PayPal in their PayPal Pro system. And looking at Shopify, you know, the rates through their merchant account provider are close to what we're doing with PayPal, but we're actually getting better rates through PayPal. But yeah, I can definitely look into the Authorize.net solution.
Here's a question. I'm going to chime in. I think I have a couple of puzzle pieces here, and I think I just need y'all to sort of guide me in the right direction. But back to what Aaron was saying about the tokenization, I think, if I understand all of this correctly, basically tokenization is so that you can retain the credit card information, because normally you're not allowed to have a copy of that, right? You can't have a physical or a digital copy of the customer's credit card information, expiration date, the 3-digit code on the back, the CVV code. You can't have all that. So that's what tokenization is for, correct? It's so that you can retain that information while having it so that you're PCI compliant. Is that correct?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so I think Stripe offers something like that. So unless I'm mistaken, but if I've read correctly, I think you could switch to a platform like WooCommerce, which is just a WordPress e-commerce website, and then you can use Stripe at the checkout, have it authorized just $1. But because Stripe is, I mean, I've heard so much about Stripe, I guess I sort of use them because I'm on Shopify Payments, and that's powered by Stripe. But if you're using Stripe directly, I think that you could just do a $1 authorization at checkout, and then that will be tokenized, and then you can do the full amount once you actually need to bill them for the product and then ship it out. Am I mistaken, or does that sound plausible?
No, I think you can definitely do that. If you, you got to custom program it, right? You got to use their API and custom program. I don't know if WooCommerce has the features to do.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, theoretically, you could definitely do that with Stripe.
Maybe there's some platform out there. I just threw WooCommerce out there because I don't know why I did. But but maybe there's a platform out there that you can use Stripe as a checkout, and then in that case, your problem might be solved. I don't know.
Do you ever get a deposit on these orders, or if it's a $500 order, do you want a deposit, or do you just want to wait and try to bill them when it's actually been manufactured?
On some of the orders, we actually charge a deposit, but that's only because the manufacturer is charging us a deposit. So I want to make sure that I'm covering myself. Charging deposits within this industry is kind of an inconvenience for the customer, and they will actually order with someone else who isn't charging the deposit just so they don't have to deal with it. Also, from a bookkeeping standpoint, it's some extra legwork on our end. So, you know, we could, and that's something I thought about, and I actually have seen competitors where they don't advertise the list price of the item, they advertise the deposit that they're going to charge. So if you look at the item, instead of it saying, you know, $200, it says $20, and then in the item description it says you'll actually be you're only paying a deposit of $20. You'll be charged the full amount of, you know, $180 or the remainder when your order is ready to ship. I'm not entirely comfortable with operating that way. I think it's a little misleading, and I think it could lead to some problems down the road.
Yeah, I was thinking that you could. What I would do is if you charge a deposit, I would just change your template layout so that you have some other extra custom field that you would put the final price amount. Say that it's a $200 product, and then put your sale price at $20. But where the price is displayed, change that to your custom field, and then add a description that the full price is $200. You would design it so that it fit and educated the customer, wasn't hidden in the description anywhere. But if you don't want to charge a deposit, that you really need to find a solution that works for the payment processor, I guess.
Yeah, I think all of these are actually good options. It's just deciding which is the least painful from a programming standpoint, from a cost standpoint. I'd love to be able to just jump into BigCommerce or Shopify or AmeriCommerce with very little programming that needs to happen, but I'm quickly learning that that may not be the case.
This is a pretty ghetto workaround. I tend to be king of those, but I mean, if you don't take deposits, you wouldn't want to do this for products that are super high value and that you might not be able to sell down the road. But if it's a decent product, you'll probably be able to move eventually. Could you just have an email list on the page for the product and say, hey, reserve your place in line, put an email address in, overbook it by maybe 20% or so, 25%, and then the day it comes out, just announce just to that list where the product is for don't advertise on the site. Again, it's not, it's a little ghetto, but it works and it saves the programming hassle.
Yeah, again, I think it's another option that we can look at. It's basically the biggest obstacle to leaving Yahoo right now because our site functions pretty well to the customer, but the back end is just a mess. It's very unreliable. I mean,
it's terrible.
The back end, and Alan and I had this conversation last week, I think, about how bad Yahoo was and how badly I wanted to get away from it. And really, within 30 days, this was 2 years ago, but within 30 days of deciding to go with Yahoo, I realized I'd made a huge mistake. So that's why I'm kind of trying to do as much legwork as I can, as much research as I can, and it just makes my head hurt because you think that, okay, I've got all my problems solved with Shopify, and then realize that, oh, that's not going to work, and then BigCommerce, and then, oh, that's not going to work. So, yeah, I wish I was a dropshipper.
Yeah, and the dropshippers wish they had better margins by stocking their own product.
Control. I'll take control over margins. Just from an operational standpoint, I don't know how much volume you're doing with those, but if you have a solution that can either use the token, and then once that product comes into stock, and then be able to go ahead and send the customer an email and charge their card, so it's automated, that would probably be ideal. But if the volume for those isn't super high, you could just create a pre-order button on the site. It will take the order without charging anything. And then from a manual standpoint, if you used, I don't know about PayPal Pro, but I know for like authorize.net, you could go in and just authorize $1, and then write down the authorization, and then just use that to charge in the future. It's just that's a lot of manual work.
Yeah, and some pieces, some items it may be 50 to 100 that we're dealing with. Some of them it's only 5 or 10, so it's gonna fluctuate. But yeah, the bottom line is I know I need to talk to, and basically I need to talk to PayPal again. I need to talk to BigCommerce, and I need to maybe talk to somebody else at Shopify again, and just because I know it's doable. It's just not. It's not designed to work that way out of the box. It's talking to the right people and getting them to understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and in some ways that's kind of the same issues that I'm running into with trying to hack a shopping cart into what I want it to do. I don't want to build a whole shopping cart solution just to change 20% of it, but changing the 20% that I need is turning into being a pretty big deal as is.
Mark, I don't know if this would help or not, but I was just looking back through my AmeriCommerce store, and I'm set up the same way. I have to take PayPal Payments Pro. It actually stores the credit card number on there as well as the expiration date. Now I'm not sure if I can go back and like, if customer calls up, if I can charge it again through the back end, but might possibly be an option for you.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to look into AmeriCommerce. Yeah, I was told, I talked to my PayPal rep earlier this week, and they said just as long as we can get an authorization on that card, PayPal Pro will store the information for up to 2 years. So for those of us that deal with pre-orders and long lead times, that's perfect. It's just finding the cart that's going to work with not authorizing for the full amount, but authorizing for a partial amount. And it may turn out to be a manual solution, which we'll just have to deal with. But I appreciate everybody's suggestions. I've been taking notes here, so I'm gonna go back and read through all that stuff. And I don't want this to be just about my problems. So it's somebody else chime in. No one else has problems.
Nope.
No,
We're here to
I'm
help
here to
you,
solve
Mark.
yours.
This
Well, I
hangout
guess
was actually created just for you, Mark.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. You saw that I joined the forums and said we need to do a hangout for this guy.
I have a question since we're replatforming to BigCommerce, and someone was talking about a pretty bad support experience. Does anyone else that's on BigCommerce have any experience with their support, or that has tried them out? That's one thing that kind of concerns me is if something goes wrong right when you're running a big promotion or Black Friday, Cyber Monday, you try to get support and nobody's there. That's one of the big reasons we've always been self-hosted, is that we can at least do something to fix the problem.
My experience, Brandon, was I was on like the $199 a month plan because I had so many products and SKU numbers. But that's when I actually experienced, in my opinion, the worst technical support. Like I said, I was waiting between a day to 2 days to get answers back on stuff. I'm not sure. I know they released like an enterprise or like platinum higher level plan. I don't know if the support's any different for that. But I mean, when I first started with them and I just had like a $25 a month plan, honestly, they would get back to me within an hour or two, and that's very acceptable in my opinion. But I'm not sure if anybody else has a similar experience.
Just working with both of those in general, Shopify has always been way quicker and way easier to work with than BigCommerce. The one thing I'll say for BigCommerce is they have been growing a lot of late. Shopify's been kind of growing more, also really quickly, but at a kind of more steady clip. It's been constantly growing. So, and yeah, Shopify definitely seems to have better kind of people management, so you get a more consistent experience. But I know BigCommerce has been opening more offices and trying to get better at that stuff. I don't know if that helps at all.
I'm not on BigCommerce. I'm on Shopify, but about a year and a half ago, when I was really diving into a platform shift off of Yahoo, BigCommerce had popped up on my radar, and I went to their Facebook page just to see what was going on, and it was just post after post after post of current BigCommerce customers complaining about how they couldn't get in touch with customer support, how they couldn't take orders on their website. I haven't taken a look at their Facebook page since, but that really did freak me out because there were so many people, and I'm talking about like within the span of a day, meaning those posts were fresh. There was just post after post after post of people who couldn't get in touch with support for whatever reason. BigCommerce wasn't responding. I hope they fixed that since then, but it just kind of freaked me out, and that was one of the main reasons that I had kind of stopped looking at them. But you might also want to talk to Lars. I've been seeing him on the e-commerce field forums lately complaining about BigCommerce problems. So maybe he's got some advice for you.
Cool, thank you.
Does BigCommerce has a phone number? I know Shopify does. Does BigCommerce not do phone support anymore?
They do, but to me, honestly, whenever I had a problem, it was always like low-level support people answering it. So if you had, obviously, most people here could probably answer a low-level ticket themselves. But like it was more, at least for me, when I had a problem, it was something a little more complicated, and I've never had any success with getting somebody like that on the phone. Usually they'll just create a ticket for you and then get back to you through email.
Yeah, that's the worst when you call up and they just send you an email. I hate that.
Mm-hmm.
Who else has got an issue they want to toss out to the collective mind meld here?
I'm here to learn.
Aaron, who do you have doing all your Magento development? Do you have someone in house that does that? Do you contract it out? Like who's your primary tech guy for all that?
So we have our own homegrown solution. We built our own. We just worked with Magento for Shapiro because we have customers on Shapiro that use Magento. But yeah, we have my background's as a developer, and then we have another developer in house, and I have a few developers for Shapiro. So yeah, programming is design. I always have a hard time with, but programming is not something that's usually a challenge for us.
Nice. And how's Shapiro going?
Really well, thanks. Yeah, good. We're keeping busy.
It's a cool product, man. You and Bill, I don't know if you've chatted with Bill D'Alessandro, but you guys both run stores and SaaS apps and make it look easy. You guys should get together and talk sometime.
Yeah, we should. I've never chatted with them. We should do that.
Yeah, you totally should. We're
actually working on, this is, I don't know if any of you guys will have any international experience, but basically we have a company that was a supplier of ours, our biggest supplier, and they're in the UK, and they're duplicating our business model in the UK and the EU as a partnership. So it's like we own half the company, they own half the company, they're repeating our sites, they hold the inventory, we're doing the websites. So we're actually are in the process of setting that up, and basically what we're doing is having 2 Shopify stores, one for EU and one for UK, so we can charge in both pounds and in and euros without there being a conversion on people's cards, so they just get straight the right amount. And then what we're using is just Stitch Labs on the back end so that we're constantly syncing inventory because it's all shipping from Wales, it's all coming from the same place, which didn't seem like the best solution to handle the multiple currencies, but I couldn't find something other than kind of putting it on our homegrown solution, which is more work, right? It's a lot easier just get up and running, you plug in, buy 2 Shopify stores, and we're up and running in a few days worth of work. But if anyone has a better idea, I'd certainly be open to it.
Crickets.
Yeah, no one knows how to do the international stuff.
Tough crowd.
I only understood 5 words of what you said. So.
All right, I'll start again. So we're opening a store with a partner. They're based in Wales, which is part of the United Kingdom.
Okay.
We're going to ship to the United Kingdom, and we're going to ship to the EU. But we don't want to charge people British pounds if they're in the EU because then they're going to see the currency conversion on their card, and we didn't want that. We want them to see, if they're in the Eurozone, they should see euros, and if they're in the UK, they should see pounds. So all the cards and all the payment information we found, they'll say, sure, we have multiple currency support, but all they'll do is show a different currency, but they still have to charge. They'll still charge only one currency. So you couldn't have 2 currencies going through the same store. So instead, what we figured we'd have to do is set up 2 separate stores and then use some technology on the back end so that we duplicate the descriptions and the inventory and stuff so that we're not manually entering stuff twice. But the ideal solution would be to find a cart that can actually charge in 2 currencies, like really charge in 2 currencies on 2 different merchant accounts.
How are you displaying the pricing in 2 different currencies on the on the same site?
We're doing it on 2 different sites, so they're going to be kind of both rounded. So they're good margin items. So if we make $2 less in euros or in pounds because it doesn't round as nice, we don't really care. It doesn't make a big difference.
Mm-hmm. So from a user, oh, go ahead, Andrew.
Oh no, go for it, Josh. That's right.
From a user experience standpoint, though, wouldn't it be odd to have somebody see the pricing in one currency, but even if the card is knowledgeable enough to change the charge currency based on location, wouldn't that from a user experience be kind of odd though?
Well, so we would want to. So what we're going to do is we're going to direct the region and then forward them to a different site. So the site is Rollmore, so they'll go to the U.S. version if they're in the U.S. and then everything will be in U.S. We already have the U.S. and then the U.K. and then the EU.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're trying to. The whole point of this is just to make it seamless for the customer, so they don't have that like it's in one currency now, it's in the other. What's going on?
Sure. I don't know about a hosted solution. I think that would be just from my research would be extremely. I don't think that's such a small. The amount of people where that would be a useful feature for would be so small to a hosted solution. So I can't possibly see that being a feature for a hosted solution. I know that if I was going to talk to my developer and wanted to do that with even Magento, we could roll out the pricing based on region, and then I'm sure even with the API of authorize.net, you could choose what currency to charge in. I imagine just thinking it through logically.
Well, yeah, actually for PayPal they said we use PayPal. They said to just use 2 separate merchant accounts, which is fine. We can just use the system to switch if you're in this zone, use that and that. Yeah, we could do it on our own hosted solution, and we consider doing that. But since we have a partner that's dealing with it, and they need to have the ability to make changes on their end, we figured, like for permissions and stuff, you get all that stuff really easy in the SaaS solutions. You can set up multiple accounts with different permissions, all that stuff's easy versus trying to do that with our solution would be way too much effort. And if the business gets big enough, then maybe we would do something like that. But
yeah, I think you'd have to have 2 or 3 separate stores, and you could have a region chooser if they come to there's just a HTML page or something that they choose which region they're in, or if it can auto detect it and then send them to the correct the correct store. I think that's probably the only way to do that with a hosted solution that I could think of.
Yeah, so that's what we're doing.
Okay.
I was hoping someone had a better idea.
I don't.
All right.
Anybody else?
No, I just want to say I have to duck out. I have to get to a basketball game for my 15-year-old, but I just want to say thanks for doing this. It was nice to talk to everybody, and I'm sure I'll see you on the forums.
All right, Mark.
Good meeting you.
Nice to meet you, Mark. Take care, man.
Peace. How do we do the live long and prosper thing? Is it
like this?
It's like this. There you go.
Mark, I love that wallpaper. So I named my company Battle Bridge Labs after the Battle Bridge from the Enterprise, so FYI.
Oh, the company that did this wallpaper is called Roommates. It's just like it sounds, but if you do a search for it, they may have one for the next generation, and then you'd have to deck out your office like that.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm already shopping online.
All right, everybody, take care.
Take it easy.
See you, Mark. I know that was I know in my mind that was wallpaper, but every time I saw that, I had this. I thought he was in a spaceship.
Yeah.
It was impressive.
I thought it was his bedroom from when he was 5, and he's still working out of there.
So I've got a question. I was curious about everybody out there as far as the hosted commerce. the hosted platforms. One of the things in my business as far as PPC and tracking goes, it's really important to track revenue to keywords and also be able to do remarketing codes and Facebook pixels and all of those. And I've got some experience with some of my customers on Shopify, and Shopify's made it pretty easy with a lot of apps, being able to do ad apps for Google Analytics and for Google Tag Manager and for like Google Shopping, for example. I was curious what everybody else out there on their either hosted platforms or other platforms, if they've had good experiences with revenue tracking back to keywords for AdWords or for Bing ads or for Facebook. If they've had good experiences, bad experiences, anything like that would be a huge help for my business and helping out my clients.
So I can speak for Yahoo. Yahoo was just a mess. If you want Google Analytics on your Yahoo store, you have to hire a third party in order to make it happen, and you have to pay them monthly. Because what happens is they take your Yahoo Web Analytics. Yahoo Web Analytics still exists apparently, and it's on every Yahoo store. You have to have all of that data transferred over so that Google can make sense of it. And there's just only one company within the Yahoo developer network that manages that. They're called Monitus, Monitus, and you typically have to pay about $100 a month in order for your Yahoo Web Analytics stuff to sync with your Google Analytics stuff. It would make a lot of sense if you could just take the script that Google gives you and paste it into the Yahoo store, but it's Yahoo you're dealing with, so it doesn't make a lot of sense. But if you ever do business with any people that are on the Yahoo Store platform, keep in mind you're going to have to bill that company $100 a month to make sense of your Google AdWords, to do that translation between the two analytics.
Okay.
Magento is pretty. We haven't released on Shopify yet, but it seems like it'd be pretty. From what I've heard, it seems like it'd be pretty straightforward from Shopify. On Magento is pretty good integration in terms of just. I mean, for the tracking, we just drop a JavaScript into the header footer, and it seems like all the magic that integrated with Google Analytics was built into the checkout page pretty easily. So Magento wasn't a problem for that.
ShopSite's a pretty old platform, but it's got pretty good e-commerce integration. They haven't updated to the new tracking code, so the demographics aren't there, but that's the only thing that I don't have. I mean, I can see down to a product SKU level exactly what's been purchased. I can see which conversions were from AdWords, from remarketing campaigns, what keywords triggered, which ones didn't. So the company that does our PPC management white chart has read-only access to our analytics, and we go through it every month, sometimes twice. This time of year, about twice a month, and look at what's performing and what's not performing, and cut things and kind of adjust it so that we're spending our budget in the right places.
And what platform? Because I know that you're migrating to BigCommerce, right?
Yeah, we're going now. We're on ShopSite. It's like a really old platform, and all that it builds HTML pages. So and then the shopping cart part of it's CGI based. So what it's just putting the analytics code on every page, and then on the thank you page after checkout, it builds that simple JavaScript tag that sends over the total order amount, product this, product that, shipping zip code, and whatever information. It's really, I mean, you could, if you've got access to the templates, even if your shopping cart doesn't provide it, you can code it to send over all of the data you want.
Mm-hmm.
But we've just currently left it the way it is because we're moving over, and the demographic data isn't. We wouldn't do anything with it actionable right now anyway. So we're just going to hold off, and when we switch to BigCommerce, I'm pretty sure they're using the new tags.
Yeah, speaking of new tags, anyone using the new enhanced Google Analytics for e-commerce at all?
I think I've installed it. I'm not sure that I've actually. I think it's working correctly. I hope it is, but I haven't had a really good chance to look at it. Can you explain what that new code does?
Yeah, it does. Laura, you were just writing about this today. You want to talk? You want to hit those?
Let's see. It does a lot more as far as tracking the checkout funnel. So now you can see a lot more into when people are abandoning, at what point, and kind of test more accordingly to that. And then, oh God, I'm blanking now, Andrew.
Everything goes into a variable. So they have variables for lots of product-specific stuff, like what is a product detail page view, for instance. And all of that stuff's already in, even though we don't have it turned on, so it doesn't do anything. I can't make a segment. I was creating an advanced segment this morning. I'm trying to figure out Andrew's post about the checkout process, got me thinking, like what I would want to know is how many orders come through that are multiple products versus a single product. So I was trying to create a custom segment to compare to our overall segment to see what percentage of our orders real quickly are multiple product orders, because I think it's a high percentage. I couldn't figure it out. But one of the things I did notice is all of those extra fields in Google Analytics e-commerce tracking are in so that you can create custom segments on, say, for instance, people who looked at 10 different product detail pages. So, I mean, it knows what's a product detail page. It knows how many people have added something to the cart, how many people have removed something from the cart. Everything becomes like an action, and it's tracked in Google Analytics. So if it's fully integrated, I could see some really powerful, custom segments and reporting you could do to see, to really nail down what people are doing.
Yeah, a couple other things that it like gives you can kind of get a rough proxy for, you can kind of backhand and back the napkin calculations for, hey, what's your rough conversion rate per product and those kind of things. But it has that built in. It lets you retarget just for customers who check out. So instead of retargeting to everybody, you can tag people and pass that on to retargeting, and only retarget people who are high value that started the checkout process. Like you were saying, Brandon, with seeing people who add to cart or don't add to cart, we build a funnel. You've kind of, because traditionally the checkout carts or the checkout funnels we've used have been like, hey, shopping cart page, okay, who added something to cart, who came to the shopping cart page, and then who made it to the billing, the shipping, et cetera, et cetera. Sometimes those work nicely. Sometimes you mess up and you realize it hasn't been tracking correctly for like 3 months, which is always frustrating. That's built in, and it does it all the way, I believe, from like, okay, who came to the site, who landed on a category page, who made it down to a product page, who filtered through. And we were, to try to get a sense of how people were working their way through the hierarchy of the site, we had to do like custom Google event firing for a while, and I think that's all built in. So it's got some pretty cool stuff.
I think it's really good for like people just starting out that, like you said, didn't know how to set up a funnel with goals. It pretty much takes all that guesswork out of it and does it automatically for you. But I implemented it on both BigCommerce and AmeriCommerce, and it took like 5 minutes. It doesn't take long at all.
Sweet. So is BigCommerce set up for? I know some other ones are, but is BigCommerce like all coded up and ready to go for enhanced analytics?
Yeah, I've been using it on there for probably about a month now.
Oh, sweet.
I had a question. One of the reasons why we're going to this shopping cart backend is to be able to get basically analytics on our pay-per-click spend. But that's all predicated on the hope that if we send a customer a link to a cart for them to check out, that they're actually going to do it, and not just call us and do it over the phone. And I know that we got this idea from Lenovo, because I know that's the way that they do. If you call up and order a PC from them, they don't take the credit card over the phone. They send you a link, a payment link. Does anybody have any experience on doing that? I mean, do you think we're going to run into a huge uphill battle with our customers trying to get them to check out via email link versus just giving us a credit card over the phone?
I mean, I've ran into this mainly because, like I said, it started a site selling tractor parts. So some of the heavier stuff, like radiators, cab glass, that kind of stuff, has to go freight. But I haven't. Well, one of the problems of having shopping carts is I can't find somebody that integrates real time to get an LTL quote. So what we do is we get the customer's information. Basically say, hey, we'll follow up with a quote to your doorstep for the freight part. I've seen probably 90% of the people I've actually sent a quote to have accepted it and went through with the purchase. But it's get all the details. We basically fill it out in the back of AmeriCommerce. It emails the customer a quote. They click the link. It brings up basically as if you were just on the site and added stuff to your shopping cart. Brings that same screen up, and then also breaks out like the freight costs and everything they'd want to look at. And then from there, they can just check out basically like they were just shopping on the site.
Okay, well, that's encouraging. I have nightmares about spending all this money and time and rolling this out, and then 95% of the people want to just call me on the phone, and you'll see me on the news jumping off a bridge.
Cool, guys. Hey, it's about 5 Eastern now, so if people want to stick around and talk, no rush to get out of here. But if you got to bail at all, it's to spend an hour. Don't feel bad hopping off at all. So, and if you do, thanks so much for coming and chatting. It's been fun. Looking forward to keep doing these. So,
Cool. Yeah, I gotta take off. I gotta talk to an employee before he leaves. So I appreciate the feedback, and it was good meeting everybody, and I'm sure I'll see you again.
awesome. Nice meeting you.
Later,
See you,
Josh.
Josh.
Bye, Joe.
Bye, guys.
I'm gonna check out as well. It's good to put faces to forum posts. I'll see you guys in the forums.
See you, Aaron. Take care, man.
I got to go to the post office, drop off customer orders and stuff. Don't have a fulfillment company yet, and I need to look into it. But thanks. It's been real. See ya.
Cool.
Bye.
Good seeing you, Alan.
Man.
Later, man.
Yeah.
I gotta run. I gotta be home to get firewood delivered. It's not real exciting, but well, it's getting cold, so.
It doesn't get cold in Georgia, Atlanta. Come on.
I know. I was like, oh yeah, you really need that firewood brand.
It gets below freezing here,
How many cords are you getting?
like a half of one.
Oh. we order like 5 cords in May.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, we'll have like, I don't know, 8 or 10 days that we'll use the real fireplace, and the rest of the time it's like, well, it's kind of chilly. I'll turn on the gas fireplace like an hour and turn it off because I don't want to deal with the cleanup. So, yeah,
Laura, you and I, every time it snows for the rest of the year and every time it drops below 30, we're going to send Brandon an email with a picture that he feels, so we shame him into his fire.
Do that, and I'll send you a picture of my white legs wearing shorts in January.
That's all right. I'll just post them in the forum. Go for it.
All right, see you guys.
See you, Brandon.
Guys.
All right. Well, this is a little awkward, so I guess I'll leave too.
All right. Well, thank you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for hosting it. Appreciate it.
I'm loving it. Oh, hey, Laura, when are we going to do the book club?
I don't know. I guess after the holidays, I think was one of the requests, but I'm almost done, so I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm done too, so I'm ready whenever you are.
All right, I'll put another comment in and see where everyone is with it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, that was awesome, by the way. I can't wait. So, great book. What do you think? Well, we'll get to that, Andrew.
So, I thought it was
book
great.
club call.
It started off slow for me, but I got into it.
It started off really slow for me, but then I got into the part with like Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, like the stuff where I have like a vague recollection of, and I'm like, I know these people, and I've been hooked ever since. So
awesome. Hey, well, thanks again. You guys have a great night, and really enjoy it.
Bye,
thanks, Travis. See you, man.
Bye, guys.